Hello, ladies, and welcome back to Tea at the Ritz. It's Wednesday. At least I think it's Wednesday. Honestly, I lose track of the days as the weeks roll by. Yes, it's Wednesday today. And before I start, I know you'll ask, so I'll tell you what I'm wearing. The shirt that I've got on is quite an old one. I bought it, I think, a couple of years ago in pure cashmere. It's a silk shirt. It's very pretty. They do have some very nice shirts in there. They're now entirely online. And this necklace I've got on is from Sahara. It's metal and I love it. And actually, Sahara has got some nice necklaces on their website if you're interested. These little earrings I got in France. So I'm sorry, I can't tell you the make of those. So I feel a bit like that guy on the Fast show. I don't you remember years ago, this tatty old bloke who's living in a shed. He used to come out and he'd stand in front of his door and he'd say, "Today I am wearing Dolce & Gabbana," which was a long way away from what he was actually wearing, but it used to make me laugh anyway. So I feel a bit like him. You know, today I am wearing. But I know if I don't tell you that you'll be sending in emails to inquire. So let's get that out of the way, shall we? So today, what am I going to be talking about? Well, confidence, big subject, a big important subject, I think, as we get older. And I might do this in two parts. So talking about what some of the issues around confidence are for older women in particular. And perhaps tomorrow, to take us into the long weekend, I'm going to have a day off on Friday, so tomorrow will be my last video of the week. Maybe talk about some of the ways that we can really work to bolster our confidence as we get older and older and older. So why is confidence such an issue? And why is it such a fascinating subject? I think we've done some research at Look Fabulous Forever, and one of the things that came back very loudly, very clearly, what do you get from your Look Fabulous Forever makeup? The word confidence came up time and time and time again. So wearing some makeup, especially our makeup, and perhaps the messages that we give with our makeup, that we're a pro-age beauty brand, that we have images on our website that are entirely age relatable. You know, they're the same age as you are, the models that we use, that we're not trying to flog an anti-aging message and all that kind of thing. And that the message that we are trying to get across to you as customers of ours is that being older is fine and looking older is also fine. And here we've got some lovely makeup to help you to do that. And that has added to your sense of confidence. And I'm delighted that that is true. If I was a fairy godmother and I was to endow a young baby girl with some special, I could wave my wand over her and give her a special wish. I would give her the gift of confidence. I'd give her that gift before I gave her great wealth or great beauty, because I think if you're a confident person, you just live in the world in a completely different way. And it's a much easier world that you inhabit when you are confident. And I think it's one of the greatest sadnesses of our society that we tend to tell older women in particular that they're somehow less valuable and less important. And that does rob us of some of the confidence that we may once have had. So why? Why does our confidence get knocked as we age? Well, let's first of all think about the difference between men and women. Now, if you think about the silver fox as a concept, think immediately, I suppose, of somebody like George Clooney. George Clooney, who is well into his 50s. I don't know how old he is. I've got no idea. But he's got, the silver hair. He's clearly an older man, but he's still seen as devastatingly attractive, sexy, beautiful, and all those things. In fact, when we were talking about pashes, my pash for Aidan Turner, there were quite a few other pashes shared on the Super Troopers page, one of which was Martin Shaw. Now, he's another silver fox, Judge John, Judge John Deeds? I can't remember. Anyway, and another Martin Kemp, Have you seen him lately? He was on Great British Bake Off the other night, and oh my goodness me, what a silver fox is he! So gorgeous. So these older men are seen as somehow still extremely, devastatingly attractive. But there's no similar idea of an older woman, especially in this country. I think it's actually better in France, to be honest with you, but certainly in this country, we don't have anything like that. Older women are seen, not seen, preferably whipped off our television screens as soon as possible or consigned to daytime television. There's plenty of older women on daytime television, but not in the evenings, not at prime time. Although older men are still allowed to be on prime time. You still get the Jeremy Paxmans and the John Humphreys of this world after 6 o'clock in the evening, but not many comparable women. And I think that distinction between the way that men are allowed to age and the way that women are seen to age is something that is definitely going to knock our confidence. Another one is our relative invisibility. Now, I know this is a concept that's much challenged these days, but it's still true to say that if I accompany my younger daughters, say to a beauty counter in a large department store, when I get there, the person selling the makeup won't talk to me. They'll talk to my daughters. And they'll assume that I am there in support of their quest for beauty, that I'm not there in a quest for my own beauty needs. And that is because I have become invisible. They look at me and they think, well, she can't want any of this stuff. So I must talk to her younger daughters because they're much more likely to be worthwhile talking to. So there's this terrible sense that nobody notices you anymore, nobody looks at you anymore, nobody takes account of you anymore, visually I'm talking about. And where am I? That's a question I often ask myself when I'm going about my everyday business. Where am I? Where are the photographs of anybody that looks remotely like me in advertising hoardings or in anything really, in any images in the shops or magazines? And so on. There's a big hoo-ha at the moment. Vogue has just produced a new cover, and on it is 85-year-old, I think she's 85 or 86, Judi Dench. Beautiful photograph of a beautiful woman. And there's a massive hoo-ha being made about it. Oh my goodness, Vogue has got a picture of an 86-year-old woman on it. How amazing. Yeah, of course it's amazing and it's wonderful and I'm pleased and happy and delighted. But it shouldn't be strange and odd that we would put one of the most iconic actresses of her time, of our time, on such prominent display on such a big and important magazine. It shouldn't be such a big deal, but it is because it's so rare. It's so unusual. And it is rare and unusual for me as I go about my everyday life to see images of women similar to me reflected back. They just aren't there. And that's what I mean by invisibility. When I go to the hairdressers, there are a lot of women in my hairdresser, which is one of the big London salons. A lot of women customers in there like me. There's not a single image on the walls of anyone who is over the age of about 21, I should think. So I sit there and there's one of a girl in her 20s with white hair, grey hair. I mean, how mad is that? So I'm sitting there saying, that's how I want my hair. That's the colour I want my hair to be when you do these highlights. That's hilarious, isn't it? And I'm pointing at a picture of a 20-year-old who's got fake grey hair. How mad is that? Makes me so cross. Next thing. There is a long tradition, certainly in our society, of negative ideas and images of older people. Do you remember the road traffic sign, which was to warn of older people, in the area? I think they used to put them up outside retirement homes and places like that. And it was a sort of black outline of an old man and an old woman, stooped and bent, both with walking sticks. They have disappeared now, I do believe, but the absolute image that I was brought up with as a child and as a teenager and as a young adult was that old age was about infirmity, enfeeblement, both of mind and body, and the whole thing that I got to look forward to as I got older was this, crooked old crone, really. Now, I've said already in these videos that we are aging very differently from our mothers and our grandmothers. And somehow the world and we ourselves have to reframe what it means to be older. We are no longer those crooked old crones. Hopefully we'll never become crooked old crones. Our individual sense of self is obviously also very, very important when it comes to our own individual confidence. If we've always felt unconfident about our physical appearance, our weight, or any other aspect of ourselves, that we see ourselves as quite shy and retiring, not the kind of people that will speak up in a crowd and all that kind of thing, then as we age, that's only going to get worse. It is very unlikely to get better. And I think that what happens with some people is that within old age, there's a sort of a sliding into a sense of, well, nobody cares about me. I certainly don't matter. To compound the fact that you have never felt particularly confident about yourself. And yet I feel, and we had a post put onto Facebook just this morning, in fact, from somebody who said, it's taken me a long time to pluck up confidence to post this. I've been struggling with body issues and body confidence for a very long time, and I'm only now starting to get to grips with it. And this person, I think, had already lost 3.5 stone. And I think that's absolutely fantastic. The fact that this person has decided that even though she's now much older, she's going to address those issues that she's probably been struggling with for very, very, very many years. So what can we do? We've got all these things that are sort of militating against us feeling better or good or confident about our aging selves. So I've got some ideas here about what we can do. So the first thing, and this is really, really important, we all collectively have to start changing and challenging our own attitudes and beliefs about what it means to get older. Now, I'll tell you why this is important, and this is some research that's been done on beliefs and attitudes towards older age. So older people who are more pessimistic and have stronger beliefs about what old age means have some very definite signs of aging that more optimistic older people don't have. They have shakier handwriting, they walk differently, they have poorer memories, and they tend to have higher levels of cardiovascular disease. So if you go into old age believing that that is going to be something that is going to make you more feeble and older in the sense of how you demonstrate that, then you will become that person. Now, a lot of you won't like that, but blame the research, don't blame me. The second thing is that there's a widespread belief that old age is associated with great degrees of loneliness and unhappiness. And guess what? Again, research shows that the opposite is true, that the younger we are, so those people who are in their late teens, early 20s, they tend to be the most unhappy and the most socially isolated in our society. And the happiest and the least socially isolated, the ones with the most friends and social activities, are those in the older age groups. So that again, some of you won't like that. You'll say, well, there's a lot of loneliness amongst older people. Of course there is. I'm not saying there isn't any loneliness, but I'm saying the perception that we're all sad and lonely is just not true. The third, I think we really have to resist the stereotypes of age that we see on the television and in films and various programs and so on and so forth. I think they do us a huge disservice. I'll give you an example. I get sick and tired of seeing advertisements which are aimed at my age group, which are entirely to do with the medicalisation of older age, by which I mean that I am featured in ads, or are likely to be featured in ads, to do with things like incontinence, poor eyesight, needing to write a will, Voltarol, stair lifts, you name it. If they want to portray those things and they want to get me to buy them, that's where I'm going to be found. But actually, you know what? Most of my life, I'm not going out to seek those things to fix my aging body. I go out and buy things like washing powder and tea and all the other things that normal people go out and buy. And therefore, you could put me in an advert for one of those and that would be perfectly acceptable. I saw something at the cinema recently that pleased me no end. It was an ad for Peroni beer. It was an Italian ad, and it was for the Passeggiata, I think it's called. It's when they all go out on a Saturday evening and they walk up and down and chat and meet their friends and socialise. And instead of it being exclusively a group of sort of hip young things going out to meet their friends and drink beer, they included some old people in the mix. And they were also joining in as if they were part of society. Whoa, fantastic. So not to do with incontinence, but to do with enjoying yourself. That's what I want to see. I want to see a lot more advertisements of older people living their lives to the full and enjoying themselves. Yes. The other thing that you can stop doing is blaming everything on your age. Younger people also have senior moments, but they don't call them that. Younger people are also forgetful. Sometimes they'll go into a room and not remember why they went into that room. Sometimes they'll put their keys somewhere and they can't find them. Sometimes they'll forget a birthday or whatever. But because they're young, they don't see that as the start of a slippery slope towards, having no memory left whatsoever. They just put it down to being busy, preoccupied with other things, and life, as we know it. But when we get older, I mean, I get really worried about this. If I can't think of a name or a word, or I get into a room and I think, I know I came in here for something and I can't remember what, I will immediately put it down to my age. It's not necessarily the reason. And I have to remind myself of that. Come on, Tricia, no, you're not losing your marbles. It's fine. And finally, I think we need to start being much more aware of the way that the society in which we live shapes our understanding and belief of what it means to be older. Those societies where ageing is seen as a valuable and a useful resource, so older people are actually included and valued much more, certainly than they are in our own society. Those people tend to live much, much longer lives, and they do so because they feel good about themselves and about the fact that they have reached this advanced old age. I think one of the most inspiring and lovely things about the lockdown that we've been in has been the way that Tom Moore, Captain Tom Moore, has been heralded as a hero, really, for what he's done. So he's just turned 100. I get slightly concerned about that, oh, bless type attitude to somebody of his age, because it's, that infantilizes him in a way. But what I do admire about him is that he has galvanized and inspired the most amazing response to his walking 100 steps around his retirement home garden for his 100th birthday in order to raise money for the NHS. And I just feel so respectful of him for doing that, and the great success that he's had. And it's a bit like the photograph of Judi Dench on the front of Vogue. We shouldn't actually see this as somehow exceptional. We should see that there are lots and lots and lots of older people in our society still contributing, being useful, having something to say, having something to give, just as Tom Moore has given of his time and effort to raise money for others. So I'm going to end on that. Become a role model for positive aging. I think that's the answer for all of us. Thank you very much for watching. Tomorrow, as I said, I want to come on to the whole idea of how you can build your own self-confidence in a very successful way. I look forward to seeing you then. So bye-bye for now. Bye-bye.